Welcome, and thanks for joining me on the Ultimate 180 podcast. If you have ever felt exhausted, overwhelmed, or trapped in your own life and wish you were able to have a complete life makeover, then you're in the perfect place to learn how to pull an ultimate 180 and change your life beyond all expectations. I'm your host, Christina Walker, and today I'll be sharing some strategies on how to help others in their lives or in our lives who are really struggling to help themselves. And I'm sure we all know somebody that is dealing with anxiety, depression, or even someone who can't seem to get out of their own way just to get through life. And as somebody who cares about them, it can be very difficult to watch. In fact, many times the more we try to help them, the more frustrated we get, which actually just pushes them even deeper into their struggles. So that's why I thought it would be an important topic to embrace to help you and your loved ones move forward together, even when one of you is struggling. So before we dive in, I just want to ask you a real quick favor. If this episode at all sparks something inside you, whether it's hope, inspiration, or just a little nudge to think differently, please just take a split second to hit that follow button on your podcast app. It not only helps you stay connected to more life-changing insights, you will also be helping this podcast reach more people who may need just a little help changing their lives too. So let's get started as we navigate change together, one degree at a time. Let's do this. I do want to start this episode with a disclaimer. If you or someone you know is in danger of harming themselves or others, please seek medical attention immediately. Do not hesitate. Take it seriously. This episode is not professional medical advice and is intended to help those who are not in any immediate danger where medical attention would be necessary. So, this should not substitute professional mental health services. And I just want to thank you. And I hope that this episode is just what you need to hear today. Because I am sure we all know people that in our lives that are dealing with some sort of mental health issue or just struggling to find peace and happiness in their daily lives. And it's so difficult, not only for the one who's living it, but also for the people around them who love and care for these that are suffering. It is so hard to watch and it affects everyone's daily life. And I'm hoping that by offering some insight and strategies, we can all take a step forward and better help each other regain our inner strength and happiness. Every single person that we help, including you, will only help elevate the world around us. So, again, let me be clear. This is not just about people with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, but these is also for people who we know and we love that have a really hard time on the daily. Things just seem to happen to them. Bad things happen all the time. And it's really hard to watch because you know that part of it is inside them that's bringing it on, right? But we can't tell them that because that is not helpful. So I am going to start a story real quick about depression because it has to do with me. And this is the story of how I started to connect with this information. And I was just in late college and it was terrible. It was debilitating. I would spend my entire Sunday laying in bed crying for absolutely no reason. And if you know me, that just doesn't sound like me. I'm one of those people where I can get mad or angry or sad, and then a short time passes, and then I know that I need to get up again and keep going. And that's just kind of my MO. So for me to get depression, it was very difficult because the people around me also didn't understand how to deal with depression. And I did seek medical attention. And it was also hard because I wanted to get to the root of why I was depressed. And sometimes it doesn't even really matter. It didn't even come out a year later of why I was depressed. And it honestly, it doesn't matter because if you're dealing with depression or if you're someone around someone with depression, it really just matters how you interact daily to help them get themselves out of the ditch. And it's difficult. So, years later, my teen actually was depressed through COVID, which we've heard a lot about. And And I do have, there's a lot of anxiety in the family. I don't have anxiety myself, but there's a lot of anxiety that I've learned to deal with. So I've learned how to deal with people that are anxious, depressed, and I have a lot of clients as well that they're just that kind of personality that things just happen to them all the time. Doesn't happen to other people, it happens to them. And so all of this information together, I've learned a great deal about communication. I've also had professionals that have helped me learn about communication when you're dealing with people that are having a struggle in their life. So during this time of depression, I think one of the hardest things from the standpoint of the one being in it was dealing with people who didn't understand what you're dealing with. Because most of the time, people just want to help, right? And the first advice that I would give to anybody, and this even came from professionals, is to learn how to listen. And especially when somebody is struggling in their life. This isn't talking about when you're having discussion with your spouse and, they're talking about they're mad at something, whatever, and you have to have a conversation, right? We're talking about people who really struggle on the daily, and to learn how to listen will actually help them be able to open up. Because when we can't listen to them, when they don't feel heard, they shut down even more. So what do I mean by listen? You have to listen without trying to solve, without trying to give advice. And boy, I'm telling you, that can be hard because for some of us, that's just our instant instinct because we want to help and we think we're helping. And I'm going to help this person. Oh, I've got great advice and I can see them, right? I can see them. I can see what's happening to them and I can see how they're stepping out in the world. And if they just knew this, then I could help them. Don't do it. Do not do it. I promise you. It really makes them stop. They stop listening. They stop hearing you because they don't have the capacity in the moment to hear you. They just don't. Maybe someday they will. But in the moment when they're down in the deep, they just don't have the capacity to be able to do all of those things that you're trying to help them with. So if you really want to help somebody, you have to develop your skill of how to listen and whatever they're dealing with, whatever they say is real to them. So stopping them and saying, well, that's not true, that is not helpful because in their head, in the moment, it is true. So when you tell them, well, that's not true, you are shutting them down. You're basically telling them they're wrong and they're wrong for feeling the way they feel. And I know that's not what you're trying to tell them, but that is how it feels. So the number one thing that you can do is practice. Just practice. You're not going to be perfect at the beginning. And you can even stop yourself and say, you know what? You don't need my advice. I just want to hear what you have to say and let them talk. Just let them, even if it sounds absolutely insane, even if it's the absolute opposite of what's happening in the world, for them to be able to get it off because whatever they're feeling really is that real to them. It is absolutely 100% real in the moment. So to discount that, you are not creating a connection between the two of you. And that is going to create frustration between the both of you. And it's just going to push you farther away. So it's kind of like opening the door. If you want to open the door to this person to really help them, the opening of the door is to listen without solving, judgment, or advice. The next one, I know that some of this is going to seem challenging, and this one can be ultimately challenging when you're dealing with somebody who is either living in your home or who is very close to you, somebody that you love very much. While you're listening to them and having any sort of discussion, you have to learn how to stay in your own energy. And what I mean by that is if you are having a great day right? And you step into the room and you can feel it usually. This person is struggling and their energy is, "Ooh," right? And it is, again, something you have to practice, but it is so important for the other person, strangely, and especially you, that you can't get into their feelings with them. And it's easy to do. It's very easy, especially, oh my goodness, if it's a child or a teen or your spouse, is to get into that anger, that sadness, whatever it is with them because you feel it so deeply. And it's almost like you have to try and create a little bubble around yourself and not to be sitting there smiling while you're talking to them because that would just piss them off. But, right, it's not what I'm saying. But it's more of just trying to shield yourself and before you start the conversation of, you know what? I'm in a good space and I'm going to stay in this space to help this person so that they can hopefully elevate to this space too, right? It's kind of, I used to tell my team this all the time. It's kind of like a pool analogy of if you see somebody drowning in a pool, if you jump in that pool with them, you cannot save them. In fact, you may drown as well. It is the same exact concept and it works exactly the same way. So if you throw them a lifeline and you stay grounded, right? You're on the ground, you're outside of the pool. If you stay grounded or you stay grounded in your energy, your happiness, your internal, like everything's going to be okay. This isn't going to affect my day. I'm going to help them, but I'm going to maintain me and where I'm at. If you stay grounded and you send them a lifeline, listen, then you can save them. Eventually, you can save them. But you cannot save them if you jump into their energy with them. You cannot get into that sadness. You cannot get into that anger. It will not help the situation at all. The only way to help them in this situation and help yourself is to be able to find a way before you even have the conversation, or if you catch yourself in the middle of the conversation, is to say, oh gosh, hold on. I am okay. I'm a happy person. I'm in a great space in life, and I'm going to maintain that for them. I'm going to maintain it for myself because I can't help them if I'm in the deep with them. The third thing, and it may seem a little strange, so hear me out, is you need to learn how to send them love. Just send them love with your spirit. Send them love. I just love this person so much. And to imagine something better for them. Imagine what it would be like and feel what it would feel like if this person suddenly had their shit together, right? How would that feel to you? How would that feel if this person were able to get past whatever they're getting past? It would change everything, right? It would change everything in your life, in their life. And if you can sit with that in those moments, especially after you've had interactions with them, instead of judging, instead of saying, oh God, I wish I could help, but this is so frustrating and it just brings me down, and try and stay in your own energy and just silently send them love and imagine great things for them. You remember what I've talked about kind of our internal radar? Your radar is around you, right? It encompasses more than your body. And that radar is constantly shooting out energy, right? And people can feel, it's just like when you can feel when you walk in the room and that person that's just depressed, angry, anxious, whatever it is, having a tantrum, you can feel what it feels like, right? You can feel that. They can feel it from you, that you trust that they can make it out of this, that they can find happiness, that they can find something great. They can feel that from you. They can feel love. If you walk away and are constantly like, I just can't handle this, I want to be away from this, they're going to feel that too. And they're going to feel even more of the struggle that they're already feeling, and they're going to feel alone and isolated. And that is the last thing you want them to do. Absolutely the last thing, because you care about them. And the fourth thing is you really have to make an effort to take care of yourself while this is going on. Learning how to be able to keep your energy high and focused, really focused on what you want and how you want life to be and all the great things in your life is vital. It's absolutely vital while you're going through this, especially when you're living with somebody who is struggling. To be able to maintain that for yourself, again, it goes back to the pool analogy. It actually goes back to Oprah's analogy about the airplane, right? You have to put your mask on first before you help somebody else. You have to be able to do that. It is not selfish to be able to take care of yourself. If you are a sudden caregiver, and you are feeling guilty to go do things for yourself, you have to stop and remember the more that you feed into the sadness of the situation, you are not helping them at all. You are making them feel like a burden in your life. And nobody wants to feel like a burden. Nobody wants to feel that way. And you sure as heck don't want the person that you love to feel that way either. So, that brings us to number 5 is you really can't feed into the guilt of living your life because guilt does not help them. Guilt does not help them at all. If guilt helped them, then I would say go for it. But it doesn't. Your guilt is your own. And all it does is push them away and make them feel isolated and make them feel like they are a burden to you. And it just separates you more and more and more. So, if you really want to help others, whether it's somebody you work with, somebody that you love, somebody that you live with, somebody that you have constant interaction with, these would be the 5 steps. I'll just quickly review. We need to learn to listen without solving, right? Just listen. Just say, I'm sorry to hear that you're dealing with this. Tell me more. Or what else would you like to talk about? Would you like to talk? Right? Let them. It's up to them. Put them in control of that. Just listen. 2, stay in your own energy. Don't deep dive with them. Don't get into their depression, their anxiety, whatever it is. Don't do it. Don't hop in that deep end of the pool. 3, send them love and imagine something better for them. They really can feel it. 4, take care of yourself. You need to keep your energy high. If it's not that important if it's important on a daily basis, it's 10 times more important when you're working with somebody who's having a struggle. And 5, don't feed into your guilt. Don't do it. It does not help them. Guilt does not help them. Go live your life and show them how to feel good again. Let them feel it and that you're there for them. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to hit that follow button. And if you'd like more information on how to incorporate these tips into your Ultimate 180 experience, join my VIP group on ultimate180.com and let's discover what's ultimately possible for you. You can catch all my episodes there, also on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your shows.